Welcome everyone to The Doctors Are In. I just love being able to see everyone's lovely faces. Every single month we are here on the third Thursday of the month at 7 p.m. Eastern. We invite you to join us each month and to share that information with other people in your community, in your family, at work, whatever it is. We are here to serve you, and I have the wonderful pleasure of being in the company of illustrious beings, angelic beings, such as Dr. Kelly Sutton and Dr. Alejandra Huante in Mexico. So without further ado, I'm going to open up the forum to see if you guys have any questions that you would like for us to address. Well, while you all are percolating and trying to figure out what your questions are, I asked Dr. Huante to jump in and share with us a little bit about what we refer to as homeopraxis, if I'm saying this correctly, Dr. Huante?
Homeoprophylaxis, you asked me.
Homeoprophylaxis. And the reason why I'm asking her to talk about this is because I saw another wonderful episode on Dr. It's Dr. Paul's. Dr. Paul is a phenomenal pediatrician who does a weekly session where he talks about various different health issues. And he interviewed a homeopath who spoke about homeoprophylaxis, and I wanted to touch bases with our resident homeopath to be able to share with you guys a more basic understanding, primarily number one, of what homeopathy is, and then to tell us a little bit more about this concept of homeoprophylaxis. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Huante.
Gracias. I don't know if I can share my screen because I have a PowerPoint about what is homeopathy.
Let me go ahead
for you to understand.
And give you the ability to do so. Okay, so now you can go ahead and share your screen, Dr. Huante.
Okay, so I just made a very fast and presentation on what is homeopathy, because sometimes, well, they ask us, they ask doctors or anyone in the health field, can I take homeopathy or homeopathic remedy along with my antibiotic? And they first say, no, homeopathy doesn't work. They don't even know what is homeopathy. So that's why I wanted you to know about what is homeopathy. So it is a science. Why? Because it's based on a method. And which method is it based on? On scientific method. It follows all the steps of the scientific method to get to a result. And that result is going to be to get the patient's health back. Okay? And it has philosophical principle that makes homeopathy a doctrine. And it's based on experience. Why? Because Samuel Hahnemann, the person who founded or who made this method, experienced on himself. But let me talk about him a little bit. Samuel Hahnemann was a medical doctor born at Meissen, Germany. And he suddenly became angry with the medicine on his time because he didn't agree on the treatments that they were doing. They were making a lot of amputations. It was like, oh, my foot is hurting. Good, let's cut it off. And now it doesn't hurt. So he was like, these treatments are not doing any good to people. These are harming people a lot. So he got angry with the medicine on his time. And he started translating many books because he knew many languages. He knew 11 languages. So he was pretty smart. So he was translating a book of William Cullen's Materia Medica in 1790. And there was this chapter about the toxic effects of China officinalis or China bark. And the book was saying about these toxic effects, like it was fever and diarrhea and coldness of the body. But at the same time, the book reports that the indigenous people from Peru used to take this china bark to treat themselves for fevers, for coldness of the body, for diarrheas. And Hahnemann was like, oh, this is too odd. How could it be a toxic effect? And at the same time, the Peruvian people took it to cure themselves. I'm gonna take a china tea. So I don't know how he got to get some china because there was no Amazon at that time, but he managed to get some china bark and he prepared himself tea of china. And he started taking the tea and suddenly he started having some symptoms like intermittent fevers and coldness of the body and numbness of the hands and chilliness and stuff like that. But if he stopped taking the tea after a couple of hours, all the symptoms disappeared. And he was like, okay, I'm having the same symptoms that are written on this book. So he was, as I just said, very clever and very smart. So he remembered about Hippocrates, and Hippocrates talked about the law of similars. So it was when Hahnemann said, okay, so similar, the same symptoms that are toxic are the similar or the same symptoms that are cured from the people from Peru. So that's the law of similar. And he said, look, okay, if I apply it to a sick person, if I give china bark to a sick person, it's gonna kill. And if I give the same remedy or the same china to someone who is healthy, it's gonna experiment the symptoms. So this way, he unveiled the homeopathic method based on the scientific method because he had a hypothesis, he followed a method, he had some material, the material was a healthy person and the china tea, and he got results and he could make an analysis. And so he followed all the all the scientific method, and he could reply this method over and over on different persons, having always the same results. Okay, so that's how he could do this new method, this new homeopathic method. So talking about a little bit of history of homeopathy in the US, homeopathy arrived about 1850 or 1849, I think. And it received great support from the church and wealthy families like the Rockefellers. Yes, I know, it's amazing, but it did. Why? Because homeopathy cured many people and it was so cheap. And it was like amazing how you could see a real change in health. So the church and the wealthy family said like, okay, let's support this new method so we can help people to cure, to have a healthy nation. And so with this support, they opened many free homeopathic dispensaries. But then the pharmacy said like, no, there are no true doctors, or they didn't study as many years as the MD and stuff like that. So they started like losing clients. The allopathy started losing clients and patients. So it was not worthy for them. So that's why homeopathy started losing patients as well, because many people, it started like a war, like now, no? Like COVID and no COVID vaccine or no vaccine, like that. But now there are currently 28 mixed homeopathic hospitals, 80 societies, and 8 homeopathic schools within the US. And one of these mixed homeopathic hospitals is the Mayo Clinic. It has an area for homeopathy, and not a lot of people know about it, but a big place like this one, the Mayo Clinic, has homeopathy. And there are doctors with the homeopathic degree. It means that we study medicine first, and then we do a 2.5 year specialty on homeopathy. And there are also homeopathy practitioners that they don't have to study medicine, but they take a 2.5-year course to become a practitioners. So this homeopathic method, it's based on 8 principles that are defined and described by Hahnemann at the Organon. The Organon was the first book that Hahnemann wrote to explain this new method. It was released in 1810, the first edition. There are 6 editions available now. So it's this, like the homeopathy Bible. It has everything you need to know about the new method and how to apply it to help people to recover from disease. And following this principle will always lead us to health reestablishment in every patient. So there are 8 principles. There are Natura Morborum Medicatrix. This one is from Hippocrates. Similia similibus curentur, also by Hippocrates. Then drug-proven experimentation, that it's what I just told you, that Hahnemann took the China bark tea to experiment on himself. The 4th principle is remedy individuality, then the love individuality, the minimum dose, the vital force, and the chronic diseases. So based on these principles, we can always aim to cure the patient very easily and in a very smooth path for the patient without having adverse effects. And an important thing is that in homeopathy, there are no diseases or no diagnoses, but patients. Why? Because I don't talk about the person with COVID or the kid with asthma or the patient on bed or room 18. No, it's Mr. John that has a kidney disease and maybe he lost his son on a car crash. So that's the patient that has many layers, not only a physical symptom. No, he also have emotional issues and mental issues and a family. So that's what we see, the whole person, not just the kidney failure or the kidney symptoms. So we aim on the individuality of the person, on their personality, and the personal and emotional situations that every patient or every person is going through. And that way, we give a special treatment, an individual treatment to every person, because we're all different, not only physically, but also emotionally, and on the way we present symptoms. So that's why every treatment should be unique for every person. And this homeopathic treatment, it's not just aiming for a symptom on the physical plane. No, it helps us to balance our whole energy on the physical level, on the emotional level, and even on the spiritual level. And when we take care of the whole patient, the whole, not just the body, but like integrative, then we can achieve for health, not just getting rid of symptoms or just giving something to quiet down the symptoms. No, the real health it's when we help people to have everything on balance, the physical, emotional, and the spiritual. So that's like a very, very, very fast view on how homeopathy works. So every time I give a remedy to a patient, it will help to balance the energy. We all have an energy that we can call it vital force or energy force or natural force or prana, kundalini. There are many, many names, but it's exactly the same. The force that we have within or makes us ill if it's unbalanced. So every time we take a homeopathic remedy, this energy comes to balance. And if we have a balance, we have homeostasis, that's how we call it in medicine. And if we have homeostasis, then we won't get sick. So that's what we aim as a homeoprophylaxis. If you don't have like any symptoms, like acute symptoms, okay, I can give you something to keep that energy on balance. And that's a prophylaxis. So there's no one remedy for prophylaxis, because maybe Dr. Kelly needs one because maybe she, I don't know, she gets headaches. And maybe Dr. Michelle has, I don't know, stomach issues. So every person will have a specific remedy to balance their energy, and that way it will become a prophylaxis, because their energy will maintain this balance and it will be more difficult to become ill. Like, for example, I haven't got any disease for the last 4 years. Nothing, not even a flu, nothing. Why? Because my energy is in balance. Of course, I take homeopathic remedies when I need to, but I also meditate. I also laugh a lot with my kids and stuff like that to keep my energy balanced. And that's part of the homeoprophylaxis. Okay.
Awesome. So now, what about the concern that people may have about whether or not homeopathy is safe? So we understand that it's effective, but is it safe, and is it safe for everyone, or is it just safe for, relatively healthy people?
It is safe for everyone. We can use it in newborns, babies, pregnant women, children, adults, seniors, everyone. And why it is very safe? Because it will never give you an adverse effect or a secondary reaction. No. Why? Because it will just work with your vital force to enhance this natural force to heal yourself. So it's not going to work with the kidney cells. No. It's working with your energy. That's why it can work on everyone, any any year, anywhere, and it won't make harm to anyone.
One of the things that I find so fascinating about homeopathy is the fact that it functions on a very different set of premises. So unlike allopathic medicines, which are very concentrated, they function on the idea of being concentrated. So they made some drugs were originally taken from nature, and they would extract a concentration of a particular element from the herb. So for instance, white willow bark, they extracted the element from white willow bark to create your pain relievers. And it's a very concentrated form. But homeopathy works on the exact opposite principle. Can you explain that to us?
Sure. It works on an energetic level, and that's a little bit hard to understand. And it's prepared on a form that you stimulate the remedy. It's like you move it a lot. I don't have a remedy around, but imagine I have a little bottle here with the homeopathic remedy. And in Hahnemann's time, he used to heat the remedy to the palm, to his palm, or to a book 100 times. And that would liberate the energy, specifically the electrons of the atoms, to move all around the bottle of the remedy. Okay. So nowadays they do it not by hand, but by these machines that will move it in rhythmically movements at the same time and at the same force. And this will liberate the energy of the remedy. And what does it mean? It doesn't mean that it has like a part of the leaf of arnica. No, it will liberate the energy of arnica. So it's super, super diluted. And every time it gets diluted, they do this movement. It's called dynamization, to release the energy of the remedy. And the more dynamic it is, or dynamic, I don't know how you say it, dinámico. The more you dilute it and the more you move it, it has more energy, and the more energy it has, it acts more deeper on the body. I really don't know how Hahnemann got to this. My mom says maybe Hahnemann was an alien because it's amazing how this works, but it works on an energy level. And now with the technology that we have nowadays, it can be proved. Now it's called a nanoparticle treatment or a nanoparticle medicine because it has nanoparticles. It has, you cannot measure the arnica or the belladonna or the whatever that is in it because it doesn't weigh anything. It's energy. But now with different techniques, they can see the energy that it's contained on every remedy or every potency and how it heals in the body because of these nanoparticles.
And, you know, to help people understand how phenomenal this is, because like I said, this just blows my mind. When I learned about homeopathy, you know, when I was like a teenager, I was just blown away by this concept. So to help you to understand this a little bit more, realize that one dilution is if you take 1 drop of, say, arnica, in this case, and you combine it with 99 drops of water, and you shake
alcohol.
Of alcohol, okay? And you shake it, right? And that is what's referred to as 1C, because C stands for 100. So if you add 1 plus 99, it's 100. Now, that is not the remedy that you're getting, because now you take that solution and you take 1 drop of that solution that's already been diluted, and you add 99 more of the alcohol, and you shake it again. And that gives you 2C. And you keep doing that until you get to a dilution of 6C or 12C or more. By the time you get to a dilution, which is a 12C, it literally has no molecular reflection of the original arnica, because by that time you've gotten to what's called Agravado's number, which is the size of a molecular element, which is 6 point something something times 10 to the 6th or something like that. I don't remember. But by that time, you literally have no actual molecular reflection of the original element. So you are dealing with energetic medicine. And the power of this is the more you dilute it, the more powerful it is. It's like nuclear reaction kind of thing, you know, like when we talk about the small atom, and if you split that small atom, it creates the devastating magnitude of energy production that could create the bomb that we know of as Hiroshima. But in this case, it's activating the innate power, the healing power that is within every single one of us. This is what is so amazing to me about this, that it activates that power that resides in us, that infinite wisdom. Oh my God, I'm getting goosebumps because I'm thinking about this. Is it just me, or is this just like amazing? You know, now the reason why I'm bringing this up is because remember I told you guys that I saw this phenomenal interview with Dr. Whatcott, who, and I'm going to put this resource into the link when I send out the recording to you guys. I invite you guys to go to realimmunity.org. And the reason why this is so critical is because she was talking about the fact that when they started creating vaccines, it was based on a similar concept, okay? But the difference between homeopathy and vaccines is that vaccines have all kinds of crap in it that they refer to as adjuvants, which means that they are forcing the body to do something that it doesn't want to do. And they're using a concentrated form, or should I, well, they'll say it's diluted, but relative to the world of homeopathy, it's concentrated. So they're taking the virus, whether it be dead or alive or however they want to fricassee it, right? And they're going to put it into this solution with various adjuvants that they say these adjuvants are meant to force a response from the body. Now, keep in mind that in addition to it forcing the body to do whatever it wants to do, the adjuvant itself is poisonous. So they'll have adjuvants like aluminum, formaldehyde, all kinds of crazy crap that they put in there to try and make this potent nonsense gooey stuff. Now, the reason why this is important is because we don't have to go along with that. We can utilize things like homeopathy to create the same type of prophylaxis with regards to our immune system. So there are homeopathic remedies to create immunity for the various quote unquote immunizations that are on the immunization schedule. So this is another option for people that most people are clueless about. So right now, I think that a lot of us are in that position of, holy smokes, I didn't even realize that this is what was in that shot that I'm giving to my baby or I'm giving to myself. And a lot of people are scared because they don't want to take those immunizations. And at the same time, they do want to find ways of boosting their immune system or preparing in advance their immune system. So are you able to talk to us a little bit about how people can use homeopathy as a type of immune booster? Let's put it that way.
Yeah, well, there are many remedies that can help you boost your immunity, but you always have to check with your homeopath because, as I said, we are all different. So you may need one and Karen may need another one because you are different. Maybe you are more, I don't know, dynamic and you exercise and Karen doesn't. It's just an example, Karen, I don't know you. But and we need to take that on note. We have to notice that because some of the remedies are better suited for tall and thin people, and others are suited for plethoric people, and others are suited for, I don't know, like women, like pulsatilla, it's like a women remedy, and others are for men. So I cannot talk about one remedy that can boost everyone's immunity because there are many, but we have to find the ideal one for everyone. Mm-hmm. So it has to be a unique remedy for you. Mm-hmm. So you can boost your immunity with the lifestyle you have, with the nutrition you have, with the emotional things you're getting through right now. Mm-hmm. But there are many. So, but you need to check with your homeopath. Always.
Yay. So now we also have Dr. Priya joining us. Woohoo! We have missed Dr. Priya for so long. Priya is in the house. And
thank you so much, Dr. Gamble. I appreciate you. I'm sorry I couldn't get through earlier. There was a sudden thunderstorm. The power went out. I don't know. It's still not fully back. I couldn't get through. I tried earlier and then I was just like, oh my gosh. And then it just worked. So I apologize.
No problem. So that is
Thank you for having.
A little basic mini lesson on homeopathy. And
that
Karen
was so fascinating. Thank you so much for sharing. That was very enlightening.
Karen has a question. Karen, what's your question, hon?
Yeah, why are the remedies mostly in lactose? Like, is that like, does that have a function? It's really hard to find some that are lactose free.
Okay, they're made with lactose because that's the way Hahnemann used them, and he found that the lactose could like preserve the remedy a long time. So that's why they use with lactose. But if you go to a homeopathic pharmacy, they can make it without lactose. They will make like a diluted version without lactose, and it's possible to do it.
Cool.
Is there any particular brand that you know of that is lactose free?
No, they all do it with lactose, but it's not cow lactose, it's goat lactose. So they're very few people that are goat lactose intolerant.
Oh, I didn't know that. So all of the ones that we find around, like in Whole Foods and stuff like that, is
Yes, they are goat lactose. So
I
it's
didn't know that.
very, very rare to find people who are goat lactose intolerant.
Huh,
Oh,
I
thank
did
you.
not know that. That's an interesting one. Huh. Wow. Okay. Any other question on anything? It doesn't have to be just about homeopathy. Any questions on anything?
I have a question.
All right.
Where would we find a good homeopathic practitioner? And I didn't realize there were these hospitals that had homeopathic practitioners in them.
Honestly, I don't know, Michelle. I think you can answer that better
Well,
than me. I don't live in the
well,
US.
But before I say anything on that, do you work with patients virtually, or does it have to be
Yes,
in person? Okay.
No,
So-
I do work with patients. Yeah, online, of course.
So there
Oh,
you go,
Okay.
Dr.
Very
Huante.
good.
It's
And-
easier.
And you
Okay.
know, whenever I send out the recordings, I always send a link to the page that has all of us on there. And you can always contact Dr. Huante directly to ask her about working with you. Another resource is realimmunity.org. And that is with Dr. Watcott. I think it's Watcott. And she has a program that works on doing immunization profiles for children as well as adults, even with the C word, you know,
Awesome.
actual all influenzas and all of those things, because again, it's about using the significant dilution to create that response by your system, where your system goes, oh, I know what to do with this. And it does what it needs to do. So in the way I actually think about it, Dr. Huante, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, I actually think about it that the homeopathic remedy is not actually doing the healing. It is your innate
it's
body.
your innate force.
It is your innate nature and your innate wisdom that says, oh, I know what to do with this. And the homeopathic remedy is just a messenger like, hello, wake up. Do you remember we're supposed to know how to do this? And so that's what I think is a major difference between the allopathic remedies, which are forcing the body to do something that it doesn't want to do, versus the homeopathy, which is like whispering in its ears, literally whispering in its ears, hey, come on, you can do this. You can do this, cheerleader. So it's just like when you go to the game and you have different cheers, so like if the ball goes in a certain direction, there's a certain cheer, like, okay, let's get the football team to remember that they need to do this. Or it's like, so that's how I look at homeopathic remedies. Am I off target?
No, you're perfect. That's actually the second principle. I mean, the first principle, that is natura morborum medicatrix, that the homeopathic remedy is going to stimulate your inner wisdom or your inner nature to heal. And exactly, it's not that the arnica is going to disappear the wounds automatically. No, the arnica is going to tell your vital force, hey, you need to reabsorb this blood clot or this blood thing here. And that's what it does. The arnica doesn't do the job, but it does stimulate your body to do its job, its natural job.
And I think Dr. Priya is going to add, because do you work with homeopathy also, Dr. Priya?
Well, actually, recently, one of my colleagues in the group of physicians I belong to had recommended a monkeypox prevention regimen using homeopathic medicine. And so then I was on the phone with this company that makes it. And I was actually looking for them, and I'm sorry I couldn't find them because it's not my field. But I am very, very intrigued by this. I think there is some real quantum levels, something going on here, you know, like a quantum nano healing or something like you were talking about. And so it's quite mind-boggling that somebody could actually figure it out and do it. I mean, I'm a believer. Yeah, I would definitely be open to trying with patients. Yeah. It would be lovely to consult with you, Dr. Gamble, and with you, Dr. Huante. If we are not able to offer anything, why not? I'm open to anything that works, you know, to cure a patient. So I would love to pick your brain or call you, consult you, put you on the phone with the patient and see if you can help,
Sure.
you know, treat them.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
thank you. Appreciate that.
And I know when I was raising my kids, I always had my homeopathy kit, you know, so any tummy ache, any allergies, whatever it is, I took out my little kit and I had all my little pellets, and that's what my kids use, you know, and they thought it was candy, you know, because it's always sweet. But it was so effective. And I had the peace of mind knowing that at the very least, it would do nothing, okay? And I can't say the same thing for medications. So that's one of the things that made me be able to sleep at night, because I knew that, I mean, even if my kid took the whole bottle and downed it because it was yummy and they thought it was candy, nothing would happen, you know? So you can't say that about any kind of medication.
Allopathic
You can't even say
medicine,
that about supplements.
not even Tylenol.
You can't
No,
even say
yeah.
that about supplements, you know?
Very true.
So
none of the over-the-counter medicines are safe. Not
yeah.
one is safe. Yeah.
Yeah, so that is what was wondrous. And even you can even use it with your pets. Did you realize that? You can even use it with your pets. So it's just amazing. And what's even more fascinating to me was that this was the rule of thumb before the Flexnor report. So before the early 1900s, when Rockefeller and Carnegie took over and co-opted all of the medical schools in the country, this was what doctors did. They used homeopathy. They used natural remedies. That is just what they did. And unfortunately, when Rockefeller came in and Carnegie came in, because they wanted to push their pharmaceuticals because of the war, and they had all the excess stuff, and they were like, well, we don't want to get rid of it. We got to use it some way. So they went into all of the medical schools in the country. They took over the boards and they rewrote the curriculum. And when they rewrote the curriculum, they took out homeopathy, they took out naturopathy, and they replaced it with allopathic medicine. So, you know, if we were going to go back to the 1800s, we wouldn't have to worry about any of this craziness that we're dealing with right now. So, Thomasine, did you have a question? I noticed that you had unmuted yourself, and then did you have a question? Maybe not. Okay. So any other questions?
So I think you alluded to it in the beginning, but what can you not take it with? I mean, I take a bunch of supplements, and do you have to be like taking nothing at the time, or?
Oh, you can take supplements. The things that you need to take out are mental things like big fat proof or mint, even mints, you have to take them away. Wait, I'm translating in my in my mind. Eucalyptus, I don't know how to say that in English. Eucalyptus, and there's another one, but well, another thing that it's like eucalyptus, like very, very strong, and that's it.
Yeah,
that's it. You can take vitamins, supplements, and even Tylenol if you need to.
And it's not that it would mess up whatever it is. It's just that the mint or the eucalyptus would neutralize the homeopathic remedy. So you wouldn't get any kind of
camphor is the other one that neutralizes.
Yeah. So So that's the reason why you wouldn't put it together. Not that you would have an adverse effect, but it would just be that you were throwing away your homeopathy because it would neutralize
Exactly.
the energetic effect from the homeopathy. Dr. Priya?
Oh, I just had a question about, I actually had two questions. One was about the effectiveness in obesity. And the second one was about, does it neutralize poisons or toxins that are already in the body, be they heavy metal, be they mold toxins, be it any other, chemotherapy that's accumulated in the liver or whatever. Is homeopathy able to neutralize that, or does it get neutralized by that?
Okay. There are a couple of remedies that help to detox, but I don't know any research specifically on that,
Mm-hmm.
but they help the body to detox from
Okay.
whatever, even though if you took antibiotics too many times,
Mm-hmm.
they will detox from that,
Okay.
and from chemos, from
Oh, wow.
heavy metals and stuff like that. But I
Fantastic.
really, honestly, I don't know if there's like evidence on this or reports on that. And about
Okay.
obesity, we treat symptoms, and obesity it's a diagnose. So
Mhm.
maybe we need to check on the symptoms that led to that person to gain that weight. Maybe it's many other conditions. Maybe he is depressed, or maybe he has this insulin resistance, maybe he has anxiety and things like that. So we can treat those symptoms,
Okay.
and the obesity will start to decline. But I
Okay.
don't treat obesity. Homeopathy doesn't treat obesity. It treats the symptoms
Okay.
of the patient.
Understand. And so, and the dosing in obesity is not different. Is the
No,
dosing different?
no. Dose, it's the same in a newborn or in an obese person or in a senior. No, it doesn't matter
Fascinating.
because it's energy.
Right.
And
Right.
the energy doesn't care about the pounds someone weighs. No, the energy is energy, and it
Wow.
will work on the body.
Wonderful. Thank you. Appreciate that.
So you're
Thank you so
saying
much.
that regardless of the age, regardless of the gender, regardless of the weight, it would be the same dosing. And if I remember
Yes.
correctly, the what distinguishes whether or not you get a 6x or a 12x or a 9x or whatever it is dependent on how deep the disturbance is, not on the physicality of the person, but on the complexity of the symptomology. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it is correct. Actually, I wanted to share again the screen for something that you were talking about, the potencies, so you can understand it. And exactly this that you are asking. So here's what you were talking about earlier when we have our arnica or our plant, right? And we make a mother tincture with it. And with this mother tincture, we only take 1 drop of it and put it in 99 drops of pure alcohol, shake it 100 times, and this will become a 1C, 1 centesimal. Centesimal because it will contain exactly 100 drops. And from this first C, we take again 1 drop and put it in 99 drops of alcohol, shake it again 100 times, and then it will become a 2C or second centesimal. And we do it over and over and over until we get to a 30. For example, a 30, it's a potency that I use a lot, and it's a very good potency. It acts on deep level and on superficial level. But there are even more potencies at 200, 1,000, 10,000, a million. So imagine, of course, there's nothing of this mother tincture. There's nothing. There's just the energy. And the more diluted it is, the more potent. And the more matter you have, it's the less potency. So these first medicines or remedies that we have here, from 1st to 6, it's a low potency. then the more potency you have, it means that it has more energy. The more potency you have, it has a deeper effect. So perhaps, for example, at 200C, it will have a very, very deep effect, and I will use it on chronic diseases. I won't use it for diarrheas or for skin rashes. No, because that's too superficial. And that's too acute. That's very acute. But if I have a person with I don't know, diabetes or kidney disease, of course, I want to go deeper in the organism. So I would use more energy or more potency. And the less potency, it's a superficial effect. Like a skin rash, well, I would maybe need a potency of a six centesimal, because it's superficial and it will go away easier and faster. I don't need to go very deep to take out the rash. It's not deep, it's here, right on top of the skin. So this is more or less how it works. And yes, it depends on how deep the condition it is.
So
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
that is awesome. So now, what are some things that we can do if we wanted to prepare for a session with you? Because I remember you saying that a big part of homeopathy is that you're not treating the disease, you are actually working on the person. And so what are some of the questions that you ask to create a profile of the person? So if we wanted to prepare for a session with you so that we have, you know, we're already thinking about this and accumulating that kind of information. So what are some things that that is critical for you being able to make a proper assessment of what remedy is good for us?
Okay, I always ask, and it's difficult for some people to respond, about their mood. What's your mood? Like, how are you? What's your character? Are you introverted? Are you extroverted? Do you like to party? Do you like to be alone? Do you like to work? Or do you like to be on the couch? Or so how are you? How are you the person? Who is Karen? Who is Kim? Who is this person? And what's your mood? What would you do when you get angry? Will you yell? Will you cry? Will you go to a corner and think about it? Or will you hit someone when you're angry? So how do you react to everyday life? That's like how I get the information to know which remedy it's better for you. It's more suitable.
Awesome. So now, if you have a situation where someone has a chronic condition of mucus, coughing, and very mucousy, and therefore a lot of difficulty breathing, and the person is very, very slender, what we would call, in the Ayurveda, we would call a vata type of person, very dry and very, you know, cool, not the hotter one. Very mentally active, always analyzing everything, but ironically, lots of phlegm production. So I'm going to throw that to Dr. Priya, and I'm going to throw it to you to see how Dr. Priya would approach it differently from how the homeopathy would approach it. So go for it, Dr. Huante. But homeopathically, what are some thoughts? What are some possible thoughts?
Homeopathically, well, I will give something for the mucus production to start working on that vital force to lower that production. And maybe look why if it is that person making that phlegm or that excessive mucus, because maybe there's an emotional condition that it's working that. So I will always look for an emotional condition that it's like exacerbating the problem.
What kind of emotional condition would exacerbate that or create that kind of situation?
It could be whatever. Like yesterday, I had a kid that got very, very, very angry with his mom, a 3-year-old kid, and he started coughing, phlegms, vomiting, phlegms. And then I asked the mom, is he angry? Oh, yes, he's very angry. He even hit me. Oh, and I gave him something for the anger, and oh, everything disappeared. So I always aim to the emotional part.
Interesting. All righty, Dr. Priya, how would you approach that particular situation?
So I think you're thinking that there is some Ayurvedic expertise here. In general, for phlegmy constitution, I mean, Ayurveda or not, I think warm beverages, particularly theophylline containing like teas, green teas, hot teas, taken frequently, I think can help with that in terms of just non-medicinal things that can be done. Then regular lifestyle, not too much stress emotionally or physically, because one of the causes of excess phlegm is, medically speaking, is a depletion of whole body glutathione, not just with age, but with stress. The stress can be physical, it can be mental, it can be emotional, it can be even spiritual stress. It's a strange thing to talk about, but it's a real thing. And for example, I would say that, in the last 2 years of the pandemic, what is presenting as mental ill health is actually based on spiritual stress, right? The spiritual stress of the loss of, people that we related to emotionally, whether they were entertainers or musicians or, family members or friends or loved ones, whoever it was. I think, definitely the soul suffers, and that manifests as some degree of excess phlegm production. So the way to raise the whole body glutathione level. So I have a little concoction for pretty much any cause of you could say asthma, excess phlegm production, bronchospasm, anything like that. And one of at the vitamin level, I would say it's vitamin B12, methylcobalamin. I recommend people taking 10 milligrams intramuscularly twice a week for life. That's a lot. But at that, the way, particularly with cobalamin, which is B12, there is it's an unknown entity how it actually works. But if you think of these electrical wires, right, and you as analogies to neurons with their myelin sheaths, and you think of the electrical wires with their insulation. If you had a huge bolt of lightning hit a wire, then the insulation will melt and fall off because there is so much of heat generated in that wire that the insulation, it can't hold that energy, the heat that is generated as it passes, that electricity passes through the wire. So in that same way, there is a lot of, and I've discussed this briefly in the past as well, there's a lot of ambient electromagnetic cacophony. And methylcobalamin, the way I like to say it is, how I understood its function was because when you look at the structures of both hemoglobin and chlorophyll, right, they're actually identical molecules. Hemoglobin is the red color in blood carrying oxygen, and chlorophyll is the green pigment in plants. They're identical molecules. What is the difference between these two molecules, right? So you have hydrocarbon ring. I think there's 6 carbons in the main central ring of both of these molecules. There is only one difference between the two, and that is what metal atom is in the center, right? So in hemoglobin, it's iron, and in chlorophyll, it's magnesium. And it's very well described how in photosynthesis, this metal atom, when sunlight, ambient sunlight falls on the leaf, this magnesium atom starts vibrating above and below the plane of the carbon atoms, that ring of carbon atoms, which is like the main molecule, the hydrocarbon moiety. And it converts all the different wavelengths of the sunlight into only one particular energy wavelength that travels down that electron transport chain, which then causes CO2 and water to bind to form glucose and oxygen. So there is a function of hemoglobin, considering the structure is so conserved in two separate kingdoms, animal and plant kingdom. Considering the structure is identical and conserved, the function, there must be some function of hemoglobin that involves that too. What is it? Well, we all know that a lot of practitioners who do alternative therapies treat blood with ultraviolet therapy. I'm sure you've heard of this, correct? We run blood through ultra UV lamps. And there is some sort of activation, I think, that is going on there that helps with immune activation. So, and coming back to methylcobalamin, it's not a 6-carbon central ring, it's 5 carbons, and the central metal atom is cobalt. So if you look at these molecules, they are nature's musical instruments. They are nature's zithers and lutes and lyres, and the metal atom is kind of the metal string of the guitar that you strum it, no matter what the size of the hand is or how vigorously it strums, if it's the same string, the same metal, and it's the same tightness, it's going to give out the same sound every single time, no matter what energy strums that string, right? But you have many strings in a guitar. You have some, you have some metals, some that are, wound up like that, some that are thicker, some that are thinner. So these are those molecules of those, lyres, lutes, and zithers that are circulating in the body and that absorb the ambient electromagnetic cacophony, only radiate one wavelength. And for the methylcobalamin, that wavelength that comes out is the one that is healthy and tolerable and energizing for the central nervous system. So that is an unknown function or previously undescribed function of the methylcobalamin. How is that relevant here? If you have a guitar string and you keep on strumming it 100,000 times, even though you're not actually using up the metal in the string, when you keep on strumming it, there is a stress element and it will break after some time. And that's what's happening as the ambient electromagnetic cacophony levels are going up, just with cell phone towers and so many other things, the ability of the body to keep out that the harmful radiation is limited by the availability of this. That's why I think we need such high doses of B12 in order to prevent diseases like cancer and like heart disease. That's why the deficiency of B12 causes all kinds of diseases, cancer and heart disease and autoimmune disease and, asthma. Okay. What is common to all of these things, right? So I think definitely to treat a phlegmy person, I would start with replacing. So I call this an incomplete diagnosis, because we treat with the inhaled steroids, which, by the way, since this GINA guidelines for asthma came out in 2020, they have clearly said that all children with asthma, and adults, should be put on an inhaled corticosteroid. Because now they have looked at 50 years of data. 50 years, they said, if you have mild asthma, you can start with just a, beta agonist alone, like albuterol, the rescue inhaler alone. But the data is showing that if you put somebody on just albuterol, in less than 2 weeks, their asthma could get worse. They could get more unpredictable asthma. It could be triggered, and it could be much more severe when it does happen, if you don't add the inhaled corticosteroid to it. So what were we doing for 50 years, And it's unbelievable the kind of slowness with which we've moved on this. Okay, now everybody's on an inhaled corticosteroid. You think that doesn't have side effects? Long term, we all know. I had complete adrenal failure from inhaled corticosteroids as a medical doctor, as somebody that this was before it was known that it could cause adrenal failure, So these are not benign medications. So I would start with the vitamins, so the B12 and the vitamin D. So how does vitamin D prevent this? So vitamin D makes all the neurons in a chain become syncytium. That is the transmission of the calcium ions between neurons. Those calcium channels are open. So it's almost like the cells are connected and that there is no gap. So the transmission of the signals is almost instantaneous. If you have certain neurons, like you have let's say, you look at my obesity or like a fat layer here, I have maybe 10, 20 layers of cells here. if 10th layer below there is not much neuronal penetration, or let's say there are 10 neurons per square centimeter at the skin level, but when I go 10 cells deep, it's only like half a neuron per square centimeter, you know that you're not getting nerve supply there, right? And so when you have vitamin D deficiency on top of that, that signaling that is occurring between neurons in a chain, hey, wake up, do stuff, whatever it is, that is not reaching the deeper layers. That's so again, vitamin D deficiency results in cancers, results in heart disease. Same things that B12 deficiency results in. What's going on here, right? Asthma. Okay, so very well documented vitamin D deficiency is associated with asthma. So the first thing I would do for a child, young person with a phlegmy condition, or even an adult, I would check their levels, and there's only one test that is pathognomonic for B12 deficiency, and that is urinary ratio of methylmalonic acid to creatinine. And it's done by only one laboratory. It's called Norman Clinical Laboratory. And the rest of the tests, I mean, methylmalonic acid alone is okay. You can test that in blood, but the serum B12 level is a hopelessly useless thing. Unless you are seeing levels above 2000, then you're actually maybe treating it, right? So, and what you see, the blood doesn't mean it's getting to that tissue layer 10 cells, 20 cells deep, because there are other factors where parasympathetically suppressed, it's not getting where it to all the parts of the tissue that are not usually perfused when you're in a sympathetic state. So there's just a lot of, so to start with, again, the B12 and the D, I would check the levels, I would correct them. And then at the next level, I would move on to address what other incompletions does this child have or adult have in terms of asthma, right? What are all the extrinsic triggers of asthma in this person? Is it something like dust? Is it something like ozone level? Is it something like mold spores? Is it something like pollen? Is it seasonal and temperature related? Is it perfume and smell related? Is it exercise related? Is it related to what is in the air quality in the city or even in their own home? So there are a lot of extrinsic factors that contribute to being phlegmy, and for each of these there's an environmental test, and that would depend on the history. So if they're sick at home all the time, then I would have the air quality at the house checked. I would have not just the particles checked, but I would also have it checked for mold. I would have it checked for the sizes of the particles, because based on that, you can tell whether it's pollen, these are very big particles, or it's mold, these are smaller particles. If it's smoke or other kinds of, particles that are thrown into the atmosphere by air pollution, right? So all these are possible triggers. And then if they have it when they go outside or at school, or, then it may be viral induced asthma.
So
if they have it seasonal, it may.
So when we look at this, ladies and gents, I hope you are getting an understanding of how critical it is for us to do a really in-depth history. And that's what Dr. Huante is emphasizing. That is what Dr. Priya is emphasizing. That's what I emphasize. I tell people I have not been able to get below 2 hours as my first conversation with my clients. No matter how much
you're doing the right thing,
I can't do it in less than 2 hours. And that's because what Dr. Huante is saying, what Dr. Priya is saying, is that it's not about the disease, you guys. It's not about COVID. It's not about any alphabet soup that they want to tell you about. It's about you as the whole person, body, mind, heart, spirit.
Your bodily.
And you.
Yes.
And what I love about what Dr. Priya just emphasized is that it's also about you in your environment, your external environment. Whether it be your family, your community, your house, your job, your car, all of these things are so critical in being able to discern what it is that is triggering this dis-ease pattern. So I want to thank Dr. Huante for sharing that phenomenal information with us on homeopathy. And I'm going to ask Dr. Priya next month if she can talk to us about air quality and the importance of air and water quality, because I
Thank
know
you.
all of the people that I work with, they want to know about water and about air, because, you know, everybody's walking around with a water bottle these days. You know, you're hearing
Yes.
about
Yes.
alkaline water, you're hearing about distilled water, you're hearing about all these 50 million different waters. You're hearing about the
Yeah.
importance of air filters. And there's so many different ones out there, your carbon filter, your HEPA filter, your this, your that, all kinds of different things. And these are
Yes.
the basics of health and wellness. So I'm going to ask Dr. Priya to
Completely.
perhaps share with us next month. Remember, guys, third Thursday
Thank
of
you, Dr.
every
Gamble.
month, be sure to be here with the Doctors Are In, with these phenomenal angels of the healing trade. And until then, please send me your questions, your comments. Please share this with your loved ones. Please invite them to join us. Please invite them to tell us what their concerns are. Tell us what is it that you would like us for us to do more research on. All of us here love to geek out on research. And you got Dr.
Yeah.
Huante on her side. She can do it in Spanish and in English, okay? So I invite you guys to ask us questions, to challenge us, because we are here to serve you.
Thank you, Dr. Gamble.
Exactly.
Appreciate you so much.